Today, I'm going to tell you a house story, so terrifying that it will leave you completely shocked. This is one of the oldest houses in the United States, and it's widely known for a chilling reason. People say that anyone who ever entered this house became possessed by jinns or evil spirits. If you want to know the full truth, make sure you watch this video till the very end. So, let's begin. On the quiet edge of Wilder, Kentucky, there stands a building that looks harmless by daylight. A country music bar. Neon lights. Laughter. Live bands. But when the sun goes down, Bobby Mackey's music world becomes something else entirely. Something that locals whisper about, and outsiders feel the moment they step inside. Long before it became a music hall, this land carried a darker history. Stories say the ground beneath the building was once used for satanic rituals, blood sacrifices, chants spoken in languages no one remembers. People claim dark forces were invited here on purpose, and once invited, they never left. Some believe these rituals weakened the barrier between worlds, opening what many now call a portal to hell. Employees tell stories that refuse to die. A woman's voice crying in the women's restroom. A smell of sulfur appearing without warning. Glasses flying off shelves when no one is near them. And then there are the possessions. One of the most famous stories is about a caretaker who mocked the spirits, challenging them openly. Witnesses say his face changed, his voice dropped, and his body moved in ways that were not human. In our culture, we would say Jinnat ni kabza kar liya, a jinn took control. His eyes were empty, his strength unnatural. It took days before he returned to normal, and even then, he refused to speak about what he saw. Visitors often feel watched. Some feel sudden anger. Some feel deep sadness for no reason. In Islamic belief, jinn thrive in abandoned, impure, and spiritually dark places, and Bobby Mackey's seems to attract them. Not one jinn. Not two. But many. Some curious. Some violent. Some bound to whatever was done on this land decades ago. The most terrifying claim remains the basement. A small, locked area where people say the energy is unbearable. Sensitive individuals report pressure on the chest, whispers in the ears, and visions of shadows climbing the walls. They say this is where the portal is weakest, where jinnat and dark entities can cross over more easily. Whether you believe these stories or not, one thing is certain: Bobby Mackey's music world does not feel empty. It feels alive, watching, waiting. And once it notices you, it may never let you forget the experience. Long before the sound of country music echoed through the walls of Bobby Mackey's music world, long before the neon signs and crowded weekends, the land itself was already stained with fear. People say darkness doesn't always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it grows slowly, fed by secrets, whispered prayers, and acts meant to never be seen. This place, according to old rumors passed down in hushed voices, was once chosen deliberately for satanic rituals, not by accident, but because something about the land already felt wrong. Local elders claim that decades ago, before the building stood, strange gatherings took place late at night. Cars with headlights turned off would arrive after midnight. Men and women dressed in black would walk toward the riverbank nearby, carrying candles, animals, and objects no one could clearly identify. No laughter. No music. Only chanting that rose and fell like breathing. People watching from a distance said the air itself felt heavier, as if something unseen was pressing down on the land. These were not playful dares or teenage games. According to the rumors, these rituals were serious, deliberate attempts to communicate with dark forces. Names were spoken, names that were not meant for human tongues. In Islamic belief, jinn respond to invocation, especially when humans call them with intent and sacrifice. The whispers say these people knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted power, protection, knowledge, and for that, they were willing to offer blood. Animals were said to be sacrificed near the river, their cries swallowed by the night. Some stories go further, darker, claiming that not all sacrifices were animals. Whether truth or exaggeration, the fear around these rumors has survived generations, and fear itself has power. In places where fear gathers, jinnat are believed to linger, feeding on negative energy, grief, and human weakness. Neighbors reported seeing strange lights, hovering low to the ground, moving without sound. Candles that refused to go out, even in strong wind, and the smell, many described it as burning sulfur or rotten metal, appearing suddenly and vanishing just as fast. In American folklore, sulfur is often linked to demonic presence. And in jinn lore, strong unnatural smells are a sign that something unseen is near. What makes these rumors even more unsettling is that they didn't stop after one night or 1 year. They continued. Repeated rituals. Repeated invitations. Each time, the boundary between worlds was believed to grow thinner. In our belief, when humans repeatedly disturb forbidden forces, jinn can become attached to a place, bound to it by the rituals that summoned them. They don't leave easily. Some never leave at all. As time passed and the land changed ownership, the rituals allegedly stopped, but whatever had been called upon did not. When the slaughterhouse was built, workers complained of hearing footsteps behind them when no one was there, shadows moving against the light, tools disappearing and reappearing covered in rust or dirt. Some workers quit within days, unable to explain the overwhelming sense of dread that followed them home. Then came the music hall. Laughter returned. Alcohol flowed. Music drowned out the silence. But darkness doesn't disappear just because humans refuse to look at it. It waits. It adapts. And according to those who believe, the jinnat that were invited through those early satanic rituals simply learned to hide behind the noise. Employees later claimed that certain nights felt different. The air would suddenly go cold. The music would distort. People would feel intense anger or despair without any reason. In jinn belief, such emotional disturbances are often signs of unseen interference. Spirits influence the mind first, weakening it before showing themselves. Some say the rituals created a spiritual wound in the land, a place where evil energy constantly seeps through. Not a dramatic doorway, but a slow, constant leak, like poison in the soil. That's why the stories never stop. That's why new witnesses keep coming forward, even today. Visitors who know nothing about the rumors sometimes report nightmares after stepping inside for the first time. Dreams of chanting, of being watched, of falling into darkness while something whispers their name. They wake up sweating, heart racing, unable to explain why the dream felt so real. In jinn lore, such dreams are often the first form of contact. Whether these stories are truth or legend, no longer matters to those who feel the presence. The satanic rituals, real or rumored, planted a belief so strong that it shaped the identity of the place itself. And belief, when shared by many, becomes something almost alive. something that listens, something that remembers. Even today, some locals refuse to step near the building after sunset. They say certain places are marked, not by signs or warnings, but by what answers when you call out into the dark. And at Bobby Mackey's, they believe something answered long ago, and it's still listening. People who speak about Bobby Mackey's music world rarely stop at rituals alone. Almost every whispered conversation eventually reaches the same terrifying claim: that this place is not just haunted, but that it sits on something far worse. A portal, a gateway, a thin, unstable opening between our world and another realm that was never meant to touch ours. The idea sounds unbelievable until you hear how many unrelated people describe the same sensations, the same fear, the same invisible pressure pulling them towards something they cannot see. The belief begins underground, beneath the music, beneath the dancing boots and loud laughter. There is a basement that many refuse to enter. People say the moment you step closer, your body reacts before your mind does. Breathing becomes difficult. The air feels thick, almost wet, as if it carries weight. Some describe it as standing too close to a deep, endless hole. Others say it feels like being watched from below, not by eyes, but by something far more aware. According to legend, repeated dark rituals weaken the spiritual boundary at this exact spot. In many belief systems, including Islamic tradition, certain locations can become gateways when forbidden acts are performed again and again. When blood is spilled intentionally, when names of jinn or dark entities are spoken with purpose, the veil between worlds is said to tear. Not all at once, but slowly, like fabric wearing thin. Bobby Mackey's, according to believers, is one of those torn places. People who claim to be sensitive often say the portal is not visible, but it is active. It breathes. It reacts. When there is chaos, anger, drunkenness, or loud music, the energy feeds it. Jinnat are believed to thrive in environments where human control is weak, where emotions are raw and boundaries are blurred. A crowded bar filled with noise, alcohol, and emotional release becomes the perfect cover for something unseen to move freely. Many visitors report an overwhelming urge to go downstairs, even when they have no reason to. A pull, a curiosity that feels unnatural. In jinn lore, this is how influence begins, not by force, but by suggestion. A whisper in the mind that feels like your own thought. Go closer. Just look. Nothing will happen. Those who resist often feel sudden headaches or nausea, while those who give in describe sudden fear the moment they reach the bottom. There are stories of people standing in the basement and feeling hands on their shoulders when no one is behind them. Others claim they hear whispers calling their name, spoken clearly, even when they are alone. Some hear chanting that seems to come from the walls themselves. In American paranormal terms, this is labeled demonic. In our understanding, it is the work of jinn, beings who exist alongside us, unseen, capable of crossing into our awareness when conditions allow. What makes the portal claim even more disturbing is that it doesn't behave like something open all the time. It is said to fluctuate. Some nights, nothing happens. Other nights, the atmosphere turns hostile without warning. Lights flicker. Electronics malfunction. People suddenly feel intense rage, despair, or fear. In jinn belief, such emotional manipulation is a clear sign of nearby presence. The portal does not need to open wide. It only needs to open enough. Employees over the years have described seeing shadows climbing up walls, not cast by anything solid. Shapes that move against gravity. Figures that appear distorted, as if they don't fully belong in our world. Some have claimed to see faces in mirrors that were not their own, staring back for a split second before disappearing. Mirrors, in many cultures, are believed to be weak points between realms. And when combined with a damaged spiritual boundary, they become windows rather than reflections. The most frightening accounts come from those who say they felt something try to follow them home. Doors opening by themselves. Nightmares repeating the same location. The same basement. The same feeling of falling. In Jinn lore, when someone spends too much time near a gateway, attachment can occur. A jinn does not need to fully cross over to affect a person. It can influence from the edge, reaching through the tear in the veil. Some religious figures who have visited the site claim that prayers feel heavier there, as if the words struggle to rise. Others say recitations cause sudden disturbances, like loud bangs or sudden cold drafts. In belief systems that recognize jinn, this reaction is not surprising. Sacred words are said to irritate dark entities, especially in places they consider their territory. The portal theory is not just about fear, it is about persistence. Why do the same types of experiences repeat decade after decade? Why do people who have never heard the stories describe similar sensations? Believers say it is because the gateway was never sealed. It was ignored, covered with music and noise instead of spiritual cleansing. And a doorway, once opened, does not simply close because humans pretend it is not there. Those who accept the portal claim believe the basement is not the source, but the weakest point. Like a cracked dam holding back something vast and patient. Something that does not rush, because it does not need to. It waits for curiosity, for disbelief, for someone to step too close. And in that waiting silence, beneath Bobby Mackey's music world, many believe something from the other side is still listening, still testing the boundary, still searching for a way through. Possession stories are where the fear surrounding Bobby Mackey's music world stops feeling like rumor and starts feeling personal. Buildings can be ignored. Sounds can be explained. Shadows can be dismissed. But when a human being changes, when their voice, their eyes, and their behavior no longer feel human, denial becomes difficult. This is where many believe the presence at Bobby Mackey's crosses the most dangerous line. One of the most repeated stories involves people who worked there for long periods of time. Not visitors. Not thrill seekers. But employees who spent night after night inside the building. They describe a slow change, not a sudden one. It starts with exhaustion that never goes away, no matter how much sleep they get. Then come mood swings, anger, sadness, aggression without reason. In Jinn belief, this is often how influence begins. The mind weakens first. The body follows. Witnesses claim that certain individuals would suddenly freeze in place, staring at nothing, as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. When spoken to, they wouldn't respond immediately. And when they did, their words felt wrong. Slower. Deeper. Sometimes spoken with an accent that didn't belong to them. In American paranormal language, this is called demonic possession. In our understanding, it is jinn ka kabza, partial control. Not full takeover, but enough to terrify everyone watching. One of the most disturbing accounts involves a man who openly mocked the spirits, daring them to show themselves. People say places like Bobby Mackey's do not respond well to arrogance. According to witnesses, his body suddenly stiffened. His face twisted into an expression no one recognized. His voice dropped unnaturally low, speaking words that sounded like threats rather than sentences. It took several people to restrain him, yet his strength felt impossible, as if something else was pushing from inside. In jinn lore, this is a known sign. When a jinn takes control, physical limits change. Pain is ignored, strength increases. The human body becomes a tool rather than a home. Those present later said his eyes looked empty, as if no one was inside them at all. Not rage, not fear, just absence. What makes these stories more unsettling is what happens afterward. Many who experience possession, like episodes, remember nothing. Others remember fragments, dark spaces, falling sensations, whispers too fast to understand. Some remember being shown images they cannot explain. In belief systems that recognize jinn, this memory loss is not unusual. The human mind protects itself by forgetting what it cannot process. There are also accounts of temporary possession among visitors. People who entered the building feeling fine, but left completely changed. Sudden hatred toward loved ones. Violent thoughts that felt foreign. The urge to hurt themselves or others. These symptoms sometimes faded after leaving the location, but some claimed the feeling followed them home. In jinn belief, this is known as attachment, when a jinn does not fully possess, but remains close, influencing thoughts from the outside. Several people reported that religious words triggered violent reactions during these episodes. The mention of God, a prayer, a recitation. Those affected would become angry or panicked, trying to escape the sound. In Islamic understanding, jinn who mean harm react strongly to sacred remembrance. The reaction itself becomes evidence to those who believe. What adds another layer of fear is that not all possessions are violent. Some are quiet, subtle. A person becomes withdrawn, emotionless, cold. Loved ones say, "They're not the same anymore." These cases are harder to notice, but just as disturbing. In jinn belief, silent possession is often more dangerous, because it can last longer without detection. People who work paranormal investigations at Bobby Mackey's claim that possession events often occur near the basement or late at night, when exhaustion, alcohol, and emotional vulnerability are high. These conditions are believed to weaken spiritual defenses. Jinn are said to take advantage of moments when humans are least grounded. Skeptics argue stress, suggestion, or psychological factors. Believers respond with one question: why does it keep happening in the same place? Different people, different years, same symptoms, same fear, same pattern. To them, coincidence ended a long time ago. In many cultures, including ours, possession is not always about evil, it is about territory. A place disturbed, a boundary broken, and beings that feel invited. Bobby Mackey's is believed to be such a place. Not because of one event, but because of many layered on top of each other, year after year. Those who truly believe in the possession stories say the building doesn't attack everyone. It waits. It watches. It selects. And when it finds someone weak, curious, angry, or careless, it doesn't need to force its way in. The door is already open. And once something crosses that line between influence and control, the most terrifying truth becomes clear. Not everyone who enters Bobby Mackey's leaves alone. For those who understand the concept of jinnet, Bobby Mackey's music world does not feel like a place that is simply haunted, it feels occupied. Not by one spirit, not by a single restless soul, but by multiple unseen beings that coexist with the living, watching silently, moving carefully, choosing when to be noticed. The presence is not loud at first. It does not announce itself. It settles into the atmosphere. Heavy and alert, like something breathing just out of sight. People who step inside often describe the same strange sensation, before anything visible happens. A sudden chill that has nothing to do with temperature. A feeling that the room has become crowded, even when it is empty. In Jinn belief, this is known as the awareness phase. The moment when a human unknowingly enters a space already claimed by unseen beings. Jinnat, unlike ghosts in Western belief, are not trapped souls. They are living entities with intelligence, will, and curiosity. And curiosity, when directed at humans, can become dangerous. Employees who worked late nights often said, it felt like someone was standing inches behind them. Close enough to feel breath, yet turning around revealed nothing. Some reported hearing footsteps matching their own. Stopping when they stopped, starting when they moved again. This is a classic sign described in Jinn encounters, where an unseen presence mirrors human behavior to assert dominance, or simply to remind the person they are not alone. Certain areas of the building are said to feel more active than others, as if invisible lines divide safe space from occupied territory. When someone unknowingly crosses that boundary, the atmosphere changes instantly. The air thickens. Sounds become muffled. Thoughts feel slow and heavy. In Islamic belief, Jinn are known to influence perception, bending awareness without ever being seen. This is why people often say, I don't know why, but something felt wrong. The Jinnat presence is believed to be ancient compared to human use of the land. Before buildings, before music, before rumors, the land itself may have already been inhabited. When humans performed dark rituals, believers say they didn't summon something new. They disturbed what was already there. Some Jinn are said to live quietly, avoiding humans. Others are territorial. And when their space is violated repeatedly, their response grows aggressive. Witnesses have described seeing tall shadow figures that do not reflect light, moving along walls or standing in corners where darkness should not exist. These figures do not behave like ghosts. They do not fade or float. They observe. In Jinn belief, Jinn can choose whether or not to be seen, often appearing only partially to test a human's reaction. Fear feeds them. Curiosity invites them closer. Many visitors experience sudden emotional shifts without explanation. Extreme anger, deep sorrow, uncontrollable fear. These emotions appear suddenly and vanish just as fast. In Jinn understanding, emotional manipulation is a primary method of influence. A Jinn does not need to show itself if it can control how a person feels. Once emotions are destabilized, the mind becomes easier to enter. There are also reports of physical sensations that defy logic. Hair being pulled. Pressure on the chest. A hand brushing against skin with no one nearby. Some feel as if they are being pushed or guided towards certain areas, especially the basement. In Jinn belief, physical contact is rare, but possible when boundaries are already weak. It is considered a warning, not an attack, a reminder of presence. Religious individuals who have entered the building describe an unusual resistance when praying silently. Words feel heavy. Concentration breaks. Some report sudden intrusive thoughts during prayer, something considered a sign of jinn interference. Others say that reciting sacred verses causes sudden disturbances, loud noises, flickering lights, or an intense feeling of anger filling the space. In belief systems that recognize jinn, such reactions are expected. Sacred remembrance is said to burn those who dwell in darkness. What makes the jinnate presence at Bobby Mackey's especially unsettling is its consistency. Different people, different backgrounds, different beliefs, yet similar experiences. People who have never heard of jinn describe events that match jinn characteristics: perfectly intelligence, manipulation, emotional influence, and selective visibility. This consistency is what convinces believers that something organized, aware, and intentional exists there. Some claim the jinnate are not united, that multiple types exist within the building. Curious ones that observe quietly, aggressive ones that provoke fear, and darker ones that seek attachment. In Islamic understanding, jinn vary just like humans, some neutral, some harmful, some openly hostile. A place disturbed by rituals and emotional chaos becomes a gathering point, attracting many kinds. Those who stay too long often report recurring dreams after visiting. Dreams of the same building, the same rooms, the same feeling of being watched. In jinn belief, dreams are one of the easiest ways for jinn to communicate or intimidate without physical effort. The mind is most open when the body sleeps. The scariest part of the jinnate presence is not what is seen or heard. It is what is felt. A sense of being studied, evaluated, as if something is deciding whether you are worth approaching further. Many believe that Bobby Mackey's does not attack randomly. The jinnate there are patient. They wait for weakness, arrogance, fear, or curiosity, and once they recognize it, they do not rush. They remain close, quiet, invisible, letting the human mind slowly convince itself that nothing is wrong until it is far too late to tell where the influence ends and free will begins. From the moment someone steps onto the property of Bobby Mackey's music world, there is a feeling that refuses to break, a tension that begins quietly and never fully releases its grip. It doesn't rush at you. It doesn't scream. It settles in slowly, like fog creeping across the ground, wrapping around thoughts before the mind realizes it is no longer thinking freely. Even people who arrive laughing often fall silent without knowing why, their voices lowering as if the building itself demands it. Inside, time feels unstable. Minutes stretch longer than they should. Sounds seem delayed, as if the air absorbs them before allowing them to move forward. Music plays, yet some people swear they hear something beneath it: low murmurs, distant knocking, or a faint whisper that vanishes the moment they try to focus. Suspense here is not created by one event, but by the constant expectation that something is about to happen. And that expectation never leaves. The lighting plays tricks on the eyes. Shadows appear where none should exist, stretching slightly too far, lingering slightly too long. People often look over their shoulders without realizing they've done it, driven by an instinct older than logic. In jinn belief, this instinct is recognition, the soul sensing another presence nearby, even when the mind refuses to accept it. The suspense grows not from fear alone, but from uncertainty. You never know what is watching, or from where. As the night deepens, the atmosphere tightens. The air becomes heavier, pressing against the chest, making breathing feel shallow. Conversations drift apart. Groups split without planning to. Individuals find themselves standing alone, staring at nothing, lost in thoughts that do not feel like their own. This is how the place maintains its control, not with chaos, but with slow isolation. People report sudden memories that don't belong to them. Images of dark hallways, running footsteps, chanting voices. These flashes arrive without warning and leave just as quickly. But they leave behind a sense of dread that lingers. In Jinn lore, such mental intrusions are signs of proximity, not possession, but testing. A way to measure how open the mind is, how easily it can be influenced. The suspense never breaks because there is no single source. It moves. One moment it's the basement pulling attention downward. The next, it's a corner of the room that suddenly feels crowded. The feeling shifts constantly, keeping the nervous system alert, unable to relax. Even skeptics admit the building feels off, though they struggle to explain why. Suspense, here, does not need belief. It exists on its own. At times, the silence becomes louder than the music. Sudden drops in sound. Brief moments where everything feels muted, as if the building is holding its breath. These pauses are often followed by intense emotion, anger, fear, sadness, rising without cause. In Jinn understanding, emotional spikes are not random. They are reactions to unseen movement. Like ripples caused by something passing through a space humans cannot see. The suspense follows people even when nothing happens. That is its true power. No jump scares. No clear threats. Just the constant awareness that something could happen at any second. This forces the mind into a state of alertness that becomes exhausting. People feel drained after leaving, even if they experienced nothing dramatic. Energy loss is a common sign mentioned in Jinn encounters, believed to occur when unseen beings feed on fear or emotional intensity. Some say the building feels different depending on who enters. Calm nights can turn heavy the moment a certain person walks in. In Jinn belief, some humans attract attention more easily through arrogance, curiosity, anger, or disbelief. When that happens, the suspense sharpens. The atmosphere tightens further, as if responding to the new presence. Mirrors, reflective surfaces, and dark windows add to the unease. People catch movement in reflections that vanish when they turn around. Not full figures. Just suggestions. Hints. Enough to make the heart race. Jinn are known to reveal themselves partially, never fully. Because uncertainty creates stronger fear than clarity. Even after leaving, the suspense doesn't always end. Some people report replaying the experience in their minds, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Sounds at home feel different. Shadows seem deeper. Dreams return them to the same rooms, the same corners. In Jinn belief, lingering psychological tension can be a sign that an unseen presence followed closely, not attached, but curious. What keeps the suspense unbroken is that Bobby Mackey's never offers resolution. There is no moment of relief, no clear explanation, no final scare to release the tension. The experience remains unfinished, like a sentence cut off mid-word. The mind continues the story on its own, filling the silence with fear. This place does not chase, it waits. It allows imagination and instinct to do the work. Every creak, every flicker, every unexplained feeling becomes part of a larger pattern that never fully reveals itself. And that is why the suspense never ends, because the threat is not visible, not measurable, and never gone. In places touched by Jinn, fear does not arrive loudly. It arrives patiently. It settles in the background of every thought, reminding you that just because you cannot see something does not mean it is not standing right beside you, listening, watching, and waiting for the moment you finally believe. And now the question is not whether Bobby Mackey's music world is haunted. The real question is why the stories never stop. Decades pass. Owners change. Music changes. People change. But the fear remains exactly the same. Those who dismiss it as legend often say the same thing. I didn't believe any of it until I went inside. Because some places don't need proof. They don't need witnesses. They only need your presence. If even one of these stories is true, if even one ritual opened something that was never closed, then Bobby Mackey's isn't just a bar. It's a reminder of what happens when humans cross lines they were never meant to touch. So before you laugh, before you challenge the darkness, remember this. Not everything that listens wants to be heard. And not everything that answers should be invited. If this story made you feel uneasy, if you felt that quiet chill, that heavy pause in your chest, then the suspense did its job. Now tell me this in the comments. Do you believe places can hold evil energy? Or would you ever step inside Bobby Mackey's after hearing this? If you want more real haunted locations, possession stories, and forbidden history from around the world, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell. Because the next story might be closer to home than you think. And remember, curiosity opens doors. Some doors should never be opened. Unless